Hello, everyone, and welcome to the EX Conversation. In this episode, I sit down with Kat Cooke, who's head of internal comms at SCC, and we dive into how they build their culture of trust, transparency, and honesty, and also why a family-like culture might not be such a bad thing. So, let's get into it. Hello, Kat, and welcome to the EX Conversation.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm excited to have you here. I have worked a bit with you over the few years, actually, at different companies as well. I think I first worked with you at SCC, which is where you are now. But I know you've been at a couple of different companies and different roles. Can you tell me a little bit about tell me a bit about your career history and how you got into internal comms and employee experience?
Yeah, sure. So, my background is actually journalism. So, I did a journalism degree. I was really keen to be a journalist, which I was originally. So, after university, my first job was at a medical magazine, working as a journalist. Absolutely loved it. I got to spend a lot of time writing articles, editing, interviewing, going to lots of events. It was always really exciting, really different, and yeah, I loved it. But that was in London,
Hmm.
which is where I was at the time. Um, for different reasons, I ended up moving to Birmingham, and once you're outside of that London bubble, trying to find a job in journalism is really difficult. And so I kind of did like a little bit of a sidestep. I went into content writing, and I got a job at SCC, which is where I am today. So we are a technology provider, business to business. We provide an array of IT solutions end to end for lots and lots of different organizations. Yeah, so again, I wasn't necessarily looking to get into IT, but I was looking to get into something to do with content. And so got into content writing. And then an opportunity sort of came up to get into internal communications. We had a real gap at the time in the business of we really needed someone to sort of run the internal communication side of things.
Hmm.
And my manager at the time was like, I think you will be the best fit for this with your sort of journalism background. And it felt like a little bit of an unknown at the time. But I was excited to get into it. So I ended up sort of transitioning into internal comms, and I've often said to people when they sort of ask me what internal comms is, I kind of say I'm kind of like the journalist for my company.
Hmm.
That's how I see it. So I still feel like the journalist, except it's all within this bubble of the business that I work for. So yeah, so I was at SCC doing internal communications. I left and I went to go work for Selco Builders Warehouse, also doing internal communications. And then an opportunity arose to come back to SCC and head up internal communications. So and then I ended up coming back again. I am known as what they call a boomerang.
Yeah.
So
I know that's a thing that I know that there's a lot of people that like leave one place and then come back, but I've never heard of it called as a boomerang before.
boomerang, yep, that's what they call us.
I guess sometimes when you like immerse yourself into a culture, you have this idea of it, what you want to go back to. Um, just quickly on the journalism thing. So, did you have to? We've had like a couple of internal communicators that come from the journalism background. Is it? What was it about journalism that originally attracted to you? Was it about like chasing the story? Were you one of these people that like really liked like reading and writing? Like, what was it?
So I at school I always loved English.
Huh.
English was my favorite subject. It was my top subject. And I always loved art. That was also my sort of one of my favorite subjects. And actually, it almost feels like a bit of a blend of the two. And I kind of wanted to get into writing. I loved writing. I loved being writing creative stories. So I loved kind of sort of thinking outside the box and being imaginative. So I was always really interested in the written word, but I also just loved talking to people.
Yeah.
I really find and I don't mean just talking rubbish. I love doing that too. That's a big thing as
I
well.
love doing that as well. We have that in common.
Yeah. If my job was just to talk rubbish all the time,
Yeah.
I would
Half
be
of
the
my
best.
job is so.
So yeah, really good at that. But that wasn't all that I was interested in. I really actually love hearing people's stories. So
Mhm.
I find it really fascinating hearing about people's journeys into sort of what they're doing or where they are or how they've ended up somewhere. So it felt like a really nice, yeah, blend of enjoying putting content together, but also working with people. And that kind of is the main, sort of thing of being a journalist, really. It's about finding the story, but you spend a lot of time obviously having to talk to people. You have to be confident with people. But you also then need to be creative in putting that content together to really kind of get the engagement from your audience. So it was those sort of things that really, yeah, drew me into journalism.
Yeah, so it seems like some of the I've never heard it described as maybe like a journalist inside the company, but actually some of those core fundamentals ring true, right? Did you ever have to do that the like squiggly writing? I'm sure there's a
Oh, shorthand. Yeah,
yeah.
I did. Yeah. Yeah, and I loved it. I took it as one of my modules, I think is in my might be in second year. And I really enjoyed it because it was kind of fun because you have to learn to do it so many words per minute. You build up to being able to do more words per minute. And so you kind of like constantly doing little tests where they'll have a recording of someone saying some words and you have to write it all in shorthand, and then once you've written it all out in shorthand, you then have to uh, decipher it back into the written word. So you'll be there in an exam like squiggling away, and then at the end of the test and you've got to then write it back into English and you're thinking, I don't have a clue what wiggle meant. What does that mean again? So it was a lot of fun and passed it and it was great. But then having not really needed to use it, I couldn't then tell you now how to do it.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah. I just
couldn't
remember
write.
seeing it on paper, being like, I have no idea what
No,
that
looks
means. The
like
whole
a
idea is like when
billion.
people are speaking that you can like capture it quicker, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's the idea. So, like, it's quicker to write it in shorthand. So, like, obviously, the main use of it is if you're court reporting. So, if you're going to be reporting in court, I guess if you were interviewing somebody, but again, you just record them if you're interviewing them. So, I feel like it's yeah. But my teacher at the time at university was great. He was really experienced, and he had been involved in the phone hacking inquiry in terms of
Hmm.
in to decipher all these journalists' shorthand notepads.
Interesting. That is
And
so.
he was a really interesting guy who gave us lots of insight into the kind of things he had to do for the inquiry. And so, yeah, he was a very interesting and very talented guy.
I want to talk a little bit about the boomerang. Like
Yeah.
what made you boomerang back to SCC?
It's a really good question. So I had a really good time in my first stint to SCC. It was a completely new industry for me. I never thought I'd end up in IT. I just was never really interested in IT, and I actually then became more interested in it working for SCC, and I just loved the people. I loved the team I was working in. There's a real at SCC, there's a real opportunity to really grow and develop there. There's always an opportunity to take a next step. So for me, I started as a content writer and
Yeah.
actually ended up going into internal communications. And it never felt like there was a limit to the growth that I could have in that company. Um, I really respected that. I learned a lot there. I progressed a lot there. Had a great time with the people. And then I moved on to Selco and had a great time there also. Like, we love Selco. The people were wonderful. Really enjoyed my
And
job.
there as well as you, the customer as well. So it's like, oh, it's Cat again. Hello.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Just pop up everywhere.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but yeah, so but then uh, my my previous manager from SEC got in touch with me when I was at Salco, and they had an opening in what was my role, but um, it had been elevated. At that point, it was head of internal communications, and I was really torn because I really loved it at Selco. I loved the environment there. There was a lot of positives, but what I missed about SCC was that opportunity to again carry on growing and developing. I felt like there was more opportunity back there to um to be able to carry on kind of climbing the career ladder, and also just like real autonomy to craft the internal comm strategy the way that I best saw fit. And I felt like it was in an environment where I'd have the support of people as well in order to do that. So,
Mhm,
and that's the case. I've come back and I've really been trusted to lay the foundations of our internal communication strategy, um, and again, being able to launch new ways of working and new initiatives, which has been really exciting and then something I've
mhm.
really enjoyed.
Yeah. It's kind of it's love. I love to see your love for the workplace as well. And I know when we chatted over the years, there are some like real special things about SCCC, and some like great stories that you've been able to tell. One of the things that I like to do on this podcast is kind of like dive into a specific topic or area that you're kind of like passionate about in internal comms and employee experience or culture or anything like that. What's something that you feel like quite passionate about or you feel is like a real opportunity in the space?
Oh, that's really interesting. It's hard to nail it down to just one. I'm
Right.
very
Yeah.
passionate about
Yeah.
lots of things. Um, I think for me, having the really open, transparent conversation and that two-way conversation with people is something I'm particularly passionate about.
Mhm,
It's really easy to, within a business environment, to have a one-way static conversation, throw out information, not really think about the audience or building rapport or building engagement, which are
mhm,
so fundamental in communications. So I'm really hot on ensuring that this is not just the business telling you what and what telling you what you need to know and what you need to go off and do. It's about having a conversation with your colleagues, inviting them to give their thoughts and opinions back. That's tricky for a business because, quite often, the sort of, conversation then that you're having with your colleagues can be a difficult one.
yeah.
It's not always going to be positive. You might put information out there, it might not go down well, it might receive some negative feedback, but that's not a reason to shy away from it, and I think, again, a lot of businesses want to kind of shy away from the negativity and they don't want to deal with the hard conversation. But I think it's really important that we have those difficult conversations, that we give people the opportunity to be really honest in a safe environment. They should have that, that psychological safety of being able to be honest and open and not worry about any sort of backlash from it as well. And that's something that I've really tried to implement at SEC, is the opportunity for people to have the two-way conversation, be open, be honest, and for us as a business to make sure that we address any of those queries and questions,
Mhm.
and we don't just leave people with no response.
So let's talk about that because I feel like there is usually you kind of get a lot of goodwill in that space. Like people say the right things, but then doing the right thing is sometimes a different thing. Is your job to kind of like implement some of that? How did you go about implementing that culture of like transparency and listening?
Yeah, so one of the things that well, so there's a few things that I've done since coming back to SCC for the second time. But so some of the things have included, we have a portal where people can ask questions to our chief exec, and it's anonymous. We use the forms function on Unily where you can anonymize the responses. They still have an option to put their name on it, but we're not forcing it.
Yeah.
They can ask a question to our CEO, and he will give them a response, and then uh, we will either have those answers in those questions and answers on his monthly vlog, or he will post them on a page that we've got on our Unily site. Um, so people can have the ability to ask a question, but they don't have to fear if they're scared to have their name to it. If they just don't want people to notice from them, then we've given them an opportunity to do that without having to put their name to it. So that's one of the things that we do. We also have sort of all hands meetings. So every quarter, again, we get together, we invite people live to come and watch. We also have a live stream, and I will speak to our chief exec, and I will ask him some questions that have come through again, and kind of will be the voice for people. I'll ask him the difficult questions. Again, some
Yeah.
people don't feel confident to ask about things when it comes to maybe pay or redundancies or anything like that. I'll ask the tricky questions, and he'll give me the answers. And also, we will open it up to the audience to ask live as well. So if they do feel confident enough to ask a question, they can put their hand up, and it's not rehearsed. He has no idea what they're going to ask. He will just address it. And we'll also have other business leaders there who can also pick up, some of those questions too. So we have different ways and means of having that conversation with people. And the more that we've implemented and the longer that we've done this for, the more that I think people now trust in those processes and see that they're authentic and that they will get a response. So I'm hoping we've built that trust and that connection with our colleagues.
Yeah. Do you find working that sort of kind of like town hall process
Yes.
for a lot of companies is like, to be honest, is like super staged or managed. So how do you go about ensuring that it is a bit more authentic and that people feel that it's real
Oh,
rather than
yeah.
just like a managed process, yeah, to look good?
And you're spot on. Like, it's difficult sometimes to almost prove that you're being authentic, and so we have to really think about how it comes across. Traditionally, we would have these all hands meetings, and it would be more of a case that our leadership would stand up at the front and deliver maybe a bit of a presentation or a talk. Whereas we've recently changed it where it's now more of a conversation, and I will actually interview our chief exec or our senior leaders. And I'd like to think, I'm hoping I'm saying this correctly. I'd like to think that our people trust in me to be honest and authentic. I'd like to think I've built that relationship and that rapport with people, that they know that I'm not going to try and stage it. I'm not C-suite. I'm
Yeah,
not, trying to be prim and polished. I do like to sort of paint myself as being the voice for people.
yeah,
And when we did our last one, our CEO had no idea what kind of questions I was going to ask him.
yeah, yeah,
And so when I asked the questions, for a moment, he had to maybe take a few seconds to think about it. He had to kind of, okay, yeah. And after people sort of said to me, I could really tell that he had no idea what you was going to ask. Like, he wasn't primed and ready. He
yeah,
wasn't like straight into an answer that was really polished. He had maybe had to take some time, or he kind of had to kind of speak about his thoughts and kind of put them together as you were talking. And I think, it was quite obvious that we hadn't rehearsed this, and it wasn't something that he was ready with some cards to give this perfect answer. And I think it just came across like that. It was just, again, we didn't really have a lot of slideware. We used a little bit for some bits, but we tried to keep it as a conversation, not as a pretty picture on a screen. So, I hope that that's how the majority felt, and we did have some really good feedback off the back of it, that it felt authentic.
well, that
So
in itself sounds like it seems like that's like a good internal communicator for me. Is like, ironically, you said this at the beginning, but actually, as you kind of explained it, it's like the internal journalist, really, in a way, which is that like asking those difficult questions, but crucially, like building the rapport with the workforce and employees, and um, yeah, ensuring that like that it feels like you're of the people. I kind of like love that explanation. That's like very, very me. Because like
yeah,
it's very difficult to like toe that balance, isn't it? Because like otherwise it
definitely.
becomes more like executive communications, and actually like it becomes the kind of like top down one way, which is what you said you don't want, right?
No, definitely not. And I really try and piece myself, there, sort of being, representative of our people. That's what I want to do. I want them to come
Yeah,
to me and feel like that if they've got any questions and queries, that they'll know that I will go and get some answers for them. And I'm very, for me personally, it's really important to be super authentic. Like, I never try to put on a front
yeah,
that's very corporate or extremely polished. It's
yeah.
not me. I stay very true to myself, and I hope then that else does build trust with people, so that when I am working with our leadership team and helping to deliver their messaging, that we get the buy-in from people and that they come along with the journey that we're on.
Yeah, I love that. I know like you've always been quite passionate about like the culture of the company and like the feeling. And these things are sometimes really difficult to articulate, but I think clearly from you describing it, it's like important to you and the employees at SCC. So yeah, like culture, like transparency and trust and communication is a big part of that. What are some of the other like cultural markers of SCC that you really like?
Oh, that's a really good question. Um, wow. I think what I so it SEC is a very unique business. It's family owned. It's one of the biggest family owned businesses probably in the country. I
Yeah.
feel like I should know the statistic and I don't.
Yeah.
I
We
certainly
said
think we're the biggest.
unpolished, so that's good. Yeah.
Exactly. I
Yeah,
certainly think we're the
authenticity
biggest.
right there.
Certainly think we're the biggest in Birmingham or
Yeah.
in the West Midlands.
Yeah.
And so it's a very different feel when it's a family-run business,
Yeah.
and we have this real sense of, um, family and people. Family is one of our, company
Hmm.
values, and I know people always say this about, like, where they work. It's like, "Oh, we're like a family,"
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
it
It
gets
sometimes gets a
probably
bad rep,
a lot.
doesn't it?
It does sometimes get a bad rep, but I kind of like actually so for me, how I define family isn't always like, sunshine, rainbows, and
Yeah.
butterflies.
Uh-huh.
Family sometimes is like, you don't know about your family, but my family is sometimes me complaining to my dad about my brother, or me complaining to my brother about my dad,
Yeah.
or but that's family. It's real,
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah.
like family, we still love each other,
Yeah.
we still want the best for each
Yeah.
other, we still like I got my family's back 100%,
Yeah.
like, they mean everything to me, but sometimes we scrap and sometimes we don't get on, and
Uh-huh.
that's just like work,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And different, like, you don't pretend that everyone, in the company are best friends all the time and you get on and
Yeah.
you necessarily, um agree with everything they say, or you're on the same wavelength. There are times where you might disagree and you might actually have a different opinion, or you might not be getting on great with them at the moment, but that's real. But the truth is, what matters is actually behind all of that, genuinely want the company to succeed, want
Huh.
the best from it,
Yeah.
and will support everybody at 110%. So I kind of do see that family value as actually, it's not just about everyone being best friends all the time and
Yeah.
supporting each other all the time, blah, blah, blah. It's actually just about that real and authentic way of working together where you've got each other's back constantly,
Yeah.
but sometimes you're not always going to agree,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
that's okay.
Yeah, I'm with you as well. I think like that kind of like family mindset, although it gets a bad rep, for me it also inspires like care and takes out this kind of idea that like every interaction is transactional and political
Yes.
and structural. And I think like I know sometimes the reality of business does sit in that realm, but actually, like the more we can care, the more we like have relationships with our workers that like are based on trust and care, and then you get like better outcomes overall. Unity has like family roots as well, and I still see those roots today, and I'm really proud of those roots, and I think that's like a lot of what keeps me here as well. Like Amber, who's also doing the recording, is the daughter of one of our co-founders, and like those sorts of roots inspire different types of working relationships that for me make it a better place to work.
Yeah, I totally agree, and it's the same at SCC. The longevity of people's careers there is huge. We have so much, sort of long-term SCCers, and they're there for a reason. People don't choose to have their career somewhere lightly. I think it's testament to the environment. Um, I I met my partner at SCC.
I don't know.
I know. So I'll be forever grateful to the
Yeah.
company, and and lots of people have. I mean, work is an easy place to meet somebody, right? But
Yeah.
lots of people have, and lots of people have got family and brought family into the business because, again, they see it as somewhere that they would recommend.
Hmm.
So it does have that feel about it. And when I left and went to Selco,
Yeah.
and then I came back. One of my friends who works in IT messaged me on Teams, on my first day back, and he just put "Welcome home," and it was, like, really
Oh,
cute. It was just
oh,
like
that's
it
so
just was
sweet.
kind of how it felt. It was
Yeah.
like that real family feel
Yeah.
of someone kind of being like, "Yeah, you're back in the fold, like, welcome,"
It's
you
so
know?
cute.
And
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
just felt like because there's so many people that have worked together for so long. It is a real tight unit, and that's across a large organisation too. Where in the UK we've got somewhere between like I think about around 1,800 colleagues, so
Yeah.
it's not a small organisation, but that feeling definitely is there.
What was it like on your first day back? Were you in the office? Did you have like a revenge
Yeah.
dress? Yeah.
I did feel like I needed to kind of walk in a bit like Devil
Yeah,
Wears
yeah, yeah,
Prada,
exactly. Yeah.
and
That's why I had him.
I was like, I need a new outfit, I
Yeah,
need my
yes.
hair doing, need my nails
Yeah.
doing, like, back.
Yeah, I know that feeling. We have like a big office in Surrey, and I haven't been there for a while. My first day back there when it was like a town hall, I was like, I need to dress well, I need to look great. I was speaking at the town hall, I need to like feel good. I came in late as well, so
The worst thing was, though, is that, like, I'd left and I think I'd been gone about gosh, I'm gonna say about maybe about 3 years I'd been gone, and in that time there'd been, like, COVID and things. I'd
yeah,
been sat at home, like, eating cakes
yeah,
and
yeah,
putting
yeah,
on
yeah,
weight.
yeah,
I was like, I'm now looking older and I've got more wrinkles, and I'm like,
yeah,
"God, I need to, like, go back in and look like I'm, like, rejuvenated and reborn, not that I've
yeah.
aged by 10 years."
I feel you. I feel like we all had that. We all had that COVID. That period was a weird period, right?
It was a weird
Yeah,
I felt like I'd become somebody that I really
yeah,
wasn't, and I was like, "I don't wanna walk back in looking like I've been, hit over the head by COVID. I
yeah,
wanna look like, I've transitioned into this head of internal
yeah,
comms."
yeah, yeah,
But but you know what? I loved it. I was so excited to come back because it was so familiar. So, starting a new job, it's always quite
yeah,
you're quite nervous, aren't you? But I was so familiar with the building, the people. I mean, of course, there were some new people,
yeah,
but the foundation of the people was still the same
yeah,
people.
yeah. Uh-huh.
And I was really excited to see everybody and chat to everybody, and it was really nice to come back into a new role. I know I'd kind of taken a step up into really heading up our internal comms, which felt, like a real uh, sort of exciting transition. Um, but I definitely tried a lot harder on my appearance for probably the first few months of being
Yeah,
back.
yeah. And then we all just fade back into yeah. I
Just like, do I need to put as much makeup on today?
yeah, no.
No, probably. No, do I need to no? Do I need to wear a suit?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I feel you. I wanna transition a bit into our hot takes, our final
Yeah.
segment of the podcast. One of the questions I wanted to ask you was, so you spoke a bit about your career history. What's one piece of advice that you wish you'd known at the start of your career?
So I actually wish that the advice I had been given was to be really open to sometimes taking a bit of risk.
Hmm.
So I actually think I have been quite good at taking risk, and I got better at it the more time has gone on. But actually, I think it would have been really good if somebody had kind of said to me, "Be open to saying yes." Like, don't just say no because you're scared. Don't say no because you don't think that you meet the criteria or because you think people won't think you're good enough. Just go for it. Take the risk. Saying yes to things, I think, has put me into a really good position. But I do wish I'd done it sooner. I wish I'd had the confidence to just say yes to more opportunities sooner.
Yeah. And I think it's so I guess in a way it's lovely for me to see you as like someone that started in like content writing at SCC to now leading internal communication and having kind of a legacy in like an important company with a big culture. Um, is cool to see. And I think also like yeah, and some of that has been due to like the risks on the journey, right? And making those moves and growing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so yeah, it's really nice to see.
Yeah. No, I genuinely mean this, but it's a real privilege to be in my position, to have a role where I've been given so much trust, to be, the person who gets to speak to all of our colleagues, send all of that messaging. It's a real trusted
Yeah.
position. It's a privilege. And I genuinely think that I had to leave to come back. It's almost like when you're in a relationship and you get into that rough bit. Sometimes you need to take a break, right? And then you come back and then it's better than ever.
Yeah.
And it was
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
had we had a break.
Of
We
that.
were on a break.
Yeah. Yeah. We were on a break. I think it's so it's good to kind of like acknowledge that as well. Like I feel like um I think in any company, especially like at the moment where working in like a fast moving technology company, it can like be really easy to get lost in the day to day and like not appreciate that actually like what I do is bloody cool and who I work with is cool and I love what I do and yeah, it's cool. Lots of cool.
No, totally. Like such a millennial, but so
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
But it is, and I again, I think sometimes it's also good to remind yourself to take that step
Yeah,
back and be like, because you get so ingrained with the day to day struggles and issues and things you want to solve and do better, and you actually need to take that step back and go, this is a really great position that I'm in, and it is a real privilege to like have the opportunities to do the things that I get to
yeah,
do, so I don't want to take that for
yeah,
granted.
for sure. So I want to also ask about so one of the questions I ask guests is to do with like the employee experience room 101. I don't know if you remember this concept, but there's like a TV show work called Room 101.
Yeah.
Yeah, where you'd basically like
Oh, thank you.
yeah, so the
Yeah.
idea is like what's something you would put in employee experience room 101 that you would like to take out of the workplace or out of the kind of industry.
Oh gosh, so much.
Yeah.
It could be starting from small thing. I mean, look, as a previous journalist, if there's one thing I could take out of the workplace tomorrow, it would be poor grammar and spelling, and that's such a small thing.
Yeah.
But poor grammar and spelling, please go away. I always say to people who again don't understand the importance of correct grammar and spelling is that without even having to think about it, if you read something and instantly notice an error, a
Yeah.
typo, misplaced apostrophe, immediately gives you a perception of that person or or that business or that
Yeah.
area. And to me, it seems like such a small thing to lots of people. It's just a typo, it's just a misplaced apostrophe.
Yeah.
But to me, it's really unprofessional. It is, and it takes away the professionalism and takes away from any sort of maybe any messaging that you're trying to convey. It's
Yeah.
distracting, and it's easily done. Look, I do it. This is my area, my space, but we all make
Yeah. Yeah.
errors,
For
right? We're all
sure.
human, and that's fine. But some people consistently do it really
Yeah.
bad. It
And we've
just
got word
drives me a
check,
little.
we've got Grammarly, you put it through AI if you want. There's yeah, there's so many solutions.
AI, you've got like, the little wiggly line when you're writing on a
Yeah,
Word
yeah, yeah.
document, it should be so easy, especially when something goes out at a high level. I think, if it's like an email conversation between people or
Yeah.
whatever, it's fine. But I'm on about, professional communications that
Yeah,
are
yeah,
going
yeah, yeah.
out, an email subject that's wrong. When we're really trying to get people to focus on an important message, it's really, really distracting. Especially if that spelling or that wrong grammar changes the
Yeah.
meaning of the
Yeah, yeah.
content too. So it also can be quite dangerous if you mess up real bad. I've seen some typos that need to have been censored sometimes. So again, we all make mistakes, but very
Yeah, true
irritating.
journalist answer there. You've kind of like threaded from the start to the end. I love that.
Yeah.
And my final question for you actually doesn't come from me. So we have a tradition where the last guest comes up with a question for the next guest,
Oh,
not
okay.
necessarily knowing who that guest is. But that question was, when did you last feel genuinely human at work? And what made that possible?
That's a really good question. Um, i in a way, I feel like it, it's actually not so much a work conversation, but maybe a more personal conversation that you have with
Uh-huh.
somebody, which obviously happens in the workplace. I think what makes you feel more human is that connection and rapport you build with someone. And that's not necessarily something that you were talking business about, but going back to those connections you have at work, that workplace, that environment, I feel what's really nice is that I have I don't want to call them friendships, because to me, friendship is something that someone you see outside
Yeah.
of work and you
Yeah. Yeah.
socialize with. So they're not really friendships, but they're like this again in the work bubble. They're like a
Yeah. Yeah.
work
Yeah.
sort of
Hmm.
you actually start confiding in each other about everything. You tell so much to these people that you don't really see outside of those four walls. You tell them what's going on in your personal life, if someone's upset you and someone's made you
Yeah.
angry, and you have these sort of really open just well, I mean, I certainly do anyway, and people who I work with do. And I think, even this week, in the office, I've had some really open conversations with some colleagues about things that are maybe upsetting them. And again, some who have felt open and safe enough to say, I'm not having a good time at the moment and I'm really struggling with this. And it really just reminds you of the importance of building, for me, engagement and rapport and
Yeah.
connection through the job that I do. Because at the end of the day, we're not robots, we're all humans. We're all coming to work to do a
Yeah.
job, but we're still human beings with feelings and with things going on outside of
Yeah.
work. We'd never try and take that away from the workplace, because that's what makes us
Yeah.
us. It's still the people. We're still people, and I think, having those conversations and giving people that space at work to open up is super important, and we should never
I
change that.
totally agree. And I think that kind of like blurring that line between like work and life is, for me personally, I find actually quite healthy. Like it's the husband or the colleague that you work with that's having the baby, or like the things that make it real, because like there isn't like a line that this isn't Severance where there's like a line between those two lives. And yeah.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. You can't have two separate lives. They do merge.
Yeah.
They do merge. Tell me someone that doesn't take a personal phone call or write a personal email or a personal text message in
Yeah.
work time. Because you have
Yeah. The
to
reality of
blend
life.
to work. It's reality of life. You have to do. You have to pick those things up, and that's okay because it's not taking up the majority of your time. But that also means that real emotions and real feelings are happening in work time, and we shouldn't ignore
Well, I
that.
think that's a lovely note to end on, Kat. Thank you so much. What question would you have for our next guest?
Oh
Yeah, this is the
gosh,
one
now
that
I'm gonna
everyone struggles with most. It's like I've asked you lots of random stuff on loads of different topics, gone here, there, and everywhere, and then I get to the end, I'm like, so what question would you have for our next guest? And people are like, oh, no, I don't know.
Oh, wow. Oh god. I feel like okay. I feel like I should just be asking
Yeah,
ChatGPT. Give me a question
yeah,
for
yeah,
me. Could I ask you some Could I do something really
yeah,
generic, a bit like,
absolutely.
in an ideal world, where would you like to see your role in 10 years from now or something like
Oh,
that? Could I ask
I
something
think
that's a
that's a
bit
great
it's
question.
simple,
That is a great
it's a
question.
bit simple,
Yeah, love
isn't it?
that.
But 10 years, that's quite far away. So let's do
Yeah,
rather than just like 5, like in 10 years from
I love
now,
that.
where would you like to see you and your role, and what kind of things would you like to maybe see change
Yeah,
or
that's a great
progress or something
question.
like that?
Kat, thank you so much. It's actually been lovely. So thank you. Been a great conversation.
Really nice. I really enjoyed it. Thank you for inviting me
No,
on.
thanks for coming. If you enjoyed the episode, then remember to click to subscribe, because there's much more where that came from. And let us know in the comments which bits you enjoyed and found super insightful. Also, if you would like to be part of the EX conversation and feature on the podcast, then please get in touch.